The Locked On Podcast Network presents The Big 6 in 60. The 6 biggest national sports stories from the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Get the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big 6 in 60 starts now with the biggest story in sports.
The Pittsburgh Steelers dominate in what might have been their most complete win yet, and it gave signs of where this team could be going with its true potential.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
The Pittsburgh Steelers dominated the Miami Dolphins 28-15, and it really wasn't even that close. The Dolphins got 2 garbage time touchdowns late in the fourth quarter. This was the most complete I have seen this football team this year. And I think this is, and I talked to some of the players didn't agree. Some of the players thought that maybe the Colts game was more complete or a few of the other ones they've had, maybe the Vikings game. But I feel this was the most complete butt kicking, out chest matching, out everything that they've done to another team. Because they came out and sure, Tua Tagovailoa's passing numbers look fine now, but 22 of 28, 253 yards. But a big chunk of those came on those last 2 drives. When the Steelers kind of dropped back into prevent, and they were trying to get stops. They needed to be better there. But they were able to limit them for pretty much the most important parts of the game. The offense coming out. We're going to start with them because this is the thing that I think could make the Steelers dangerous to teams if they down the stretch here. Yes, they came out slow, 3 punts in a row, 2 of them were 3 and outs, but then they had 4 straight touchdown drives, putting them together, and not just like one pop play, drives, 12 plays, 58 yards, 8 up, 4:54 on the clock, left the Dolphins with 17 seconds left in the first half. Then this time they were up 7-3 at the half like they were against the Bills, but they didn't fumble it away and hand the Bills the game back. No, they came back with an opening drive in the second half, 6 plays, 71 yards, 3 first downs, and a touchdown that took 3:40 off the clock. The defense gets in the ball right back off of a 3 and out. What does the offense do? 10 plays, 77 yards, 4 first downs, touchdown, Steelers. And then the defense gets in the ball right after that. What do? 9 plays, 81 yards, 5 first downs, and a touchdown. And by the time they gave the ball back to the Dolphins, there was 13 minutes left in the game. They were down 28-3. And sure, they did have 2 6-play drive and a 9-play drive. Both went for decent yards and both got touchdowns. But by that time, the game was over. And you look at the offense and what they did in this game, DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers, I think is showing that he is far from done right now. He's got the arm to whip it. That throw to DK Metcalf was a missile. It might be his best throw in the season. It was through the middle of the defense. There was a defender diving at it. Minkah Fitzpatrick was guarding it. And then, of course, DK Metcalf just bullying Minkah Fitzpatrick and then fighting his way into the end zone. And you saw the impact of that. And again, it wasn't just DK Metcalf in this game. You had Kenneth Gainwell, who we'll get to in a bit here as well. 7 catches for 46 yards on 7 targets. Pat Freiermuth getting involved, 3 for 45. Darnell Washington, 3 for 25. Marquez Valdes-Scantling gets a touchdown. We'll talk about him in a bit. But DK Metcalf, 3 catches on 3 targets for 55 yards and that 28-yard touchdown. Huge. And I thought it was really big because the Dolphins came out. They showed some single high, but when they were trying to disguise it and drop into cover 2, Aaron Rodgers was able to pick it apart, say, "Oh no, I see your disguise. I see what you're trying to do, and we're gonna attack right down the middle." DK Metcalf said that was a plan that they had going into this game, and I then asked Aaron Rodgers about it after the game. Here was his response.
Aaron, DK talked about you guys' ability to hit the cover 2 when they went into their 2 high. You guys attacked in the middle part of the field. He had 2 big plays there. What can you say about just the work that you guys have been to put in to make sure to capitalize when teams do that, even when they disguise it?
I don't think we did that a whole lot. First 24 minutes of the game, but we started to get some things going. Obviously, I had one to DK early for 22, but the play by DK was one of the better plays I've seen in my 21 years. There's a play by Dolan Driver back in 2009, which was one of the greatest catch and runs I've ever seen. But that was pretty special. Tight window catch, juke, hard stiff arm. That was fun to see him get that one. But there was a lot of little plays that made a big difference. I thought all three of Pat's catches were adjustments, and where he did really good stuff. And we haven't got Pat involved as much as obviously I would liked, but those are three impactful plays.
So you hear the impactful plays there. It's not just DK Metcalf. It's also Kenneth Gainwell. It's also Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And it's also Adam Thielen getting a catch in there for 7 yards that helped erase it was 1st and 20. He helped bring the yardage back there on what ended up being a scoring drive. Darnell Washington with the catch and runs he had. Jaylen Warren not having his best day, but still contributing whichever way he can. 3 catches on 3 targets for 15 yards. And I thought it was interesting. Kenneth Gainwell was phenomenal in this game. He played out of his mind. I've been saying for a while, I called him on the Locked On Steelers Squad show. I compared him to Moelle Moore. Excuse me, I'm just tired. I compared him to Moelle Moore, and I mean that. I think this dude is tough as nails. I think he's a playmaker. If you don't remember Moelle Moore, remember how important he was to that 2018, because it wasn't just Willie Parker in the backfield. He was there too, and he was huge for what they were able to do. He caught the ball at the backfield, ran hard. And that's who Kenneth Gainwell is for this team. Jaylen Warren it's funny, Jaylen Warren is Willie Parker's cousin, but Kenneth Gainwell's come in, and he might be the better back right now. Jaylen Warren did have a sickness. He did have an illness before this game, but it's not just this game. It's for the past few games I've been pointing it out. Whether it's defenses aren't looking for Kenneth Gainwell or he's just feeling the synergy of the offensive line a bit more, he's been more productive in this game. 13 carries for 80 yards for Gainwell, 12 carries for 33 for Warren. And I was very encouraged to see what he did. And Aaron Rodgers, listen to how he talks up Kenneth Gainwell and then the others, and pointing out who the Steelers are making plays with right now, because it's not just superstars, it's not just big names winning matchup. It's the guys that a lot of teams overlooked. The Steelers brought in, heck, we even overlooked when talking about this team a whole lot, and they're finding ways to contribute. And that's important for a team trying to make a push like the Steelers are doing. Here's Aaron Rodgers talking about Kenneth Gainwell and other guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's really every game. I think the run that he had, 38 yards, I believe, on just a simple inside zone week, just his vision, just fun to watch. I can't tell you exactly what I call him every week because there's some expletives in there, but I love playing with him. I really do. I mean, he is as smart as they come. He is super smart, and I still cannot believe what we got him for. I told him a long time ago my goal was to get him paid, because I've been a fan of his since he was in Philly and thought that every time he win the game, something good happens. And just to be able to play with him and the type of guy that he is, man, I can't say enough good things about Kenny. Every single game, it seems like he comes up with impactful plays and makes guys miss and catches the ball. I mean, I was telling who was that? I think it was Marquez on the sideline. I just one of the most impressive things is to watch us on Friday practice just do pat and go drill, which is just an over the shoulder drill. He is as fluid as anybody on the team catching the football. And again, for a guy that's making damn near vet minimum, he's been a tremendous asset to our team this year.
To be clear, Kenneth Gainwell is a $1.79 million cap hit. He's counting less than $2 million against the Steelers salary cap. Heck of a value get there. And at 26 years old, I don't think the Steelers are going to even think twice about trying to bring him back. He's going to be back on a 2-3 year deal because he is a playmaker and he makes this offense go. And Aaron Rodgers, for all these things that everyone else is doing, you got to give him credit. I thought in the first half he took 2 sacks he shouldn't have, but on the day he completed 13 straight passes. He was 23 of 27, 224 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interception, pass rating of 125.9. Again, distributing the ball out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different players caught the ball in this game, making it very hard for the Dolphins defense to lock in on anything specifically the Steelers did. This is what the Steelers offense, I think, has been ideally trying to look like all season, because they also ran the ball for 130 plus yards in this game. And when the team's running the ball for 130 plus, they're throwing it for 220 plus, and they're efficient, and they're possessing the football, and they win the time of possession 33 minutes and 33 seconds to 26-27 for the Dolphins, that's going to get you that's going to get you a lot more chances to win, and it's going to keep your defense fresh. And you see the impact of that when throughout the game, if they're fresh and they're not having to keep going back out there after they're 3 and out and 3 and out and 3 and out and 3 and out all game long. And then they go and make plays. We'll talk about the defense next, but I think it's huge. The Steelers did what they won this game the way that they did. This was not they just happened to win it. This was not they could have won this. This was a butt kicking. And it's a butt kicking that I think should send warning signs to everyone else on their schedule, including the Lions, Browns. They know what it is. And the Ravens, who probably feel really good after shutting out the Bengals, probably looking like, that was not a fluke against us last week. This team's playing a lot better. And Aaron Rodgers deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing for this team, getting guys to play harder, not just DK Metcalf, but also Marquez Valdes-Scantling for his touchdown, his precise route running, Adam Thielen, Kenneth Gainwell, even Jonnu Smith with a rushing touchdown in this one. It's very encouraging to see. It's a very good sign for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need this offense to be efficient, and they're doing it.
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
And it all comes crashing down in Pittsburgh as the Dolphins go ice cold once again.
Fins up. It's the Dolphins squad. Everything Miami Dolphins every week.
The Miami Dolphins came out, looked pretty good at the start of this game. They weren't cashing those chips in, though. We've seen this many times this season. But, the way that they were outplayed in the second and third quarters of this game, the Steelers had 4 straight touchdown drives while the Dolphins could not get anything going offensively. 2 of those drives for Miami in between Pittsburgh's touchdown drives had negative yardage on 3 and outs. And, just really did not look anything like the team that had won 4 in a row. And like I said, it's all over after that loss tonight in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Grease, I was worried when we didn't, score some points in the first half because we're not a second half team, especially in the third quarter, and I was miserable at halftime when we were down 7-3, and I was like, oh God, here we go. Because I know we're a slow starting second half team, and we took the ball first, so we weren't getting the ball first in the second half, so that puts us behind the 8 ball, and it was just a downhill slide from there, and ugly game today.
Kyle, one of the worst second quarters I've ever seen, one of the worst quarters in franchise history, the second quarter tonight from the Miami Dolphins, and not much better in the third. The garbage points late notwithstanding, this team got dominated from the start, and let's keep it real. I mean, the defense they were out on the field a lot tonight, and they have their fair share of blame for this one. But this one really starts, and you spend most of the time with the offense. They were just terrible tonight. They got a couple things going early on. They went away from the run completely in the third quarter. Achane only had 2 carries. Tua was back to beat. I mean, at one point, I believe it was before their last 2 touchdown drives, and Tua was like 6 for 10 in the game. And they scored the points late, Kyle, but just not the way you had hoped that this offense would show up the way that they had been playing lately.
Yeah, it kind of felt like a delayed version of the Green Bay game on Thanksgiving last year, where, there was a muff punt there early in Green Bay that you had to stop defensively, and then you fumble the punt, and then they score, and the whole game gets away from you, and then you get some hollow yards and points late in the game. I mean, we had negative 20 yards of offense in the third quarter. You ran 6 plays for negative 20 yards. Pittsburgh had 2 70-plus yard touchdown drives. Just appalling to sit here and watch. And Z talked about, kind of a slow starting team in the second half of football games. And I agree with them wholeheartedly. You kind of play the field position game early. You do the one thing you can't do, which is have a turnover in scoring territory with that interception that Tua threw with, It was a corner route, and I thought the broadcast did a great job breaking down. You don't have anybody holding that flat defender down. He's sinking the whole way. You can't throw that. You especially can't throw it. You go back and watch a replay. He didn't have his feet on the ground. He's jumping into a throw late, outside, down the field. He doesn't have that club in his bag in the first place. Never mind, you don't have anybody that's going to hold the flat corner down. So ugly rep kind of embodied the offensive effort in the passing game for the first 3 quarters of the game, which felt like we're out here running with training wheels, playing it so close to the vest, but then we have some early down success running the ball, but we don't stick with it. And we come out late. What? Our first possession, we ran 5 plays and 4 of them were passes, right? Like, it was just, I was not a fan of how the whole thing went. And if you told me this was how it was going to play out, I would have guessed you would have lost by multiple scores, and that's exactly what happened.
And they had pressure, Z, on Tua all night, even without TJ Watt. We know what happened with him, and we send our best wishes and our thoughts and our prayers to TJ Watt, his family. But what a bizarre thing to have happen the week of a game, and he misses the game. But, you know, their defensive line didn't look like they missed a beat tonight. And what we didn't think would happen, Z, is that they would play so well against the run, albeit with the Dolphins kind of like playing it right into their hands by hardly calling any running plays.
Yeah, you know, I thought, you know, Mike, you got away from the run early, and that hurt, you know, because once you're putting the ball in Tua's hands, we all know what's going to happen, you know. And when he threw that pick, then Mike thought he was going to, you know, throw out of his slump, you know, like you know, you basketball term, you know, shoot out of your slump. That's not going to happen with Tua, you know. You got to get back to the run game. We got away from it early, and it just snowballed. And from there on, you know, and Tua, he needs to get rid of the ball. There's a few times he could have thrown a ball out of bounds, and he takes a sack. You can't do that. Just throw the ball away, for God's sakes. And he didn't do that. You know, I think it was 3 or 4 times I counted during the game where he had an opportunity. He was out of the pocket, throw the ball into the bleachers for all I care. You're not going to get a penalty and move on. And he didn't do that. He took the sack, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, Kyle, he doesn't look the same at all out there. Obviously, his play doesn't look the same. This guy led the league in passing yards 2 years ago, completion percentage just last year, right? We were coming into this season saying if Tua can stay healthy, if they can keep Tua from being banged up, if they can keep him upright on his feet. But somewhere, somehow along the lines, whether it was Tyreek Hill publicly questioning Tua a little bit last year, we started to see some of that confidence erode. And Tua Tagovailoa, people are talking about his arm strength, Kyle. They're talking about all kinds of things when it comes to Tua. But the one thing I notice more than anything when I watch him right now is when that camera zooms in, man, his eyes are just going in circles. You know, when somebody loses it mentally, it's hard to get it back. And I give him credit. Look, it's not easy to come back and lead those scoring drives like he did late. A couple of touchdowns to Waller. But when you look at Tua, people want to talk about physicality all the time, but mentally, he just does not seem anywhere near the same guy.
The confidence is not there. And I guess he talked before the game with Troy Aikman about seeing the field and not playing to the standard that he had. And I mean, whether it's the interception, that's pretty basic quarterback play in the NFL against cover 2. He had another one that was nearly picked by Alex Highsmith as a zone dropper underneath as he was threatening to rush and drops out underneath. That if Highsmith doesn't pick it, I think the safety behind it picks it and makes a play on it. And it's just a few too many of that. And I will give him credit, just like you did, Z, as far as, you know, or Grease, just like you did as far as the touchdown drives. You actually saw him get off his spot a little bit and keep his eyes downfield and make a couple throws out on the move. And it's like, okay, like, can we catch that in a bottle? And it's like, it just has not been there with any level of consistency at all this year, which drives you nuts. But it really felt like we really played this close to the vest, but then we wanted to throw more based off, I guess, the structures or the game flow. And, you know, once they kind of took advantage of the middle 8 there and scored, I mean, they scored with 30 seconds left in the first half, and then they got the ball. They went right down the field. And that you really helped them out with that touchdown drive just before half, was getting ready to give all the flowers to Riley Patterson for hitting a career-long field goal. He follows it up with the kickoff. He doesn't get it in the landing zone. It puts Pittsburgh right after you take the lead
40-yard line.
On the 40-yard line. It's like, it's stuff like that. You can't have it. It can't happen in a game like this where Pittsburgh's really not going to make a bunch of mistakes. How many forced incompletions did Aaron Rodgers have in the first 3 quarters of the game? I think he was like 17, 18 at one point or something like that. Like it was a bunch of open air stuff underneath.
And
so
it was all nothing down the field at all, Kyle.
And at some point, you're going to have to change the pitch, right? And it felt like we were content to show the looks, but then have the space underneath and then the tight ends underneath or the backs involved. And it was just too much air. And I don't know if that was, hey, they had a lot of success working the ball down the field to DK Metcalf, so we're going to play with a big roof. Like, I got to get in and see the coach's tape and see what that looks like. But this was kind of a house of horrors and a lot of fronts from the last 31 minutes of the game in every phase of the game.
Yeah, and Z, Aaron Rodgers at 42 years old, the day after we saw 44-year-old Phillip Rivers make his comeback and prove that there can be beer league football. It's not just softball, but I mean, props to Phillip Rivers for getting off the couch and almost winning an NFL game. But Rodgers tonight, Z, 23 of 27, 224, 2 touchdowns. They did sack him 3 times and saw him shaking that wrist a little bit. They got to him, a couple of holding calls. The defense did not play a terrible game tonight, Z. How would you describe it, though? Because you can't be giving up 4 straight touchdown drives. They're not out of the discussion on what went wrong tonight.
No, they were leaky on defense for sure. You know, the penalties. They had 3 third-down penalties that kept their drives going. That's inexcusable. That's lackadaisical, not concentration, not staying on top of your game, and that hurts you. You know, because you have a stop on those, but you got a penalty, and it keeps the drive going, and they scored on them. So that's inexcusable as a coach, as a player. That's what they got to look at. They can't give away free yards. When you give away free yards, you have no chance, and that's what we did today.
Well, when 2 tight ends score rushing touchdowns in the same game, I mean, and then you add the insult to injury that it's Jonnu Smith, right? And he was loving that. And Minkah Fitzpatrick is the guy who gets thrown to the ground by DK Metcalf as he runs and scores. And Jalen Ramsey is the guy. Look at Kyle's face. I'm sorry, Kyle. Jalen Ramsey is the guy who gets the sack. So just to add insult to injury, those 3 guys get to celebrate a little extra tonight too.
Yeah, but that sack by Ramsey, that ball, that's one of the ones I'm talking about. The ball should have been thrown out of bounds.
Should have been thrown, yeah.
So that's on Tua.
Once you're forced off your spot, and the only eligible that's working open on that play, Next Gen Stats actually had like the animated dots of all 22 players on the field to kind of see how that was playing out. Like, you had a chance to have Alec Ingold kind of they brought 2 weak off the backside, and Ingold stepped with the first one, but then Cole Strange stepped off to also engage with him, and you could have theoretically picked it up and then had a shot to Waddle, but he was running a crosser across the middle away from the way that Tua was flushed off his spot. So once Tua is flushed off his spot, you just got to throw the ball into the dirt. Like, don't take the unnecessary hits, right? Or don't lose the yardage, because games like this, they're the ones that are really won in the margins. And that's why all the success that Miami has routinely had under Mike McDaniel with the lesser teams, like the not good teams, the margins don't bite you in the same way that you get into an environment like this. And Pittsburgh's historically very good on special teams. They don't turn the ball over at a very high rate offensively, so you're not going to get a bunch of freebies, and everything counts. And there were way too many hidden yardage here, hidden yardage there, mistake here, field position issue here. You can't do it. And if you went through and added up all the net yardage gained and lost and possessions extended and penalty issues, et cetera, to Z's point, 3 first downs for Pittsburgh on penalties, including one that was on a 3rd down stop with Jordan Brooks.
That was brutal.
It's rough. And
he's been so great. It's hard to get on him too much, Z, the way he's been playing, but that's a bad penalty in that spot.
Yeah, that's ticky-tack there, though. He didn't say that much. He stood over him.
Ooh.
I get that that's been an emphasis for – but that's a preseason call, first 4 weeks call. These refs have been across the league have been horrible, to be honest with you. I know Vrabel made a big comment about coming out of yesterday's game, saying he doesn't know, understand what refereeing is anymore. And I get it. I've been watching so much football lately. I don't know what's right or wrong. You can call a penalty on every play. On anybody. It's ridiculous. Hands to the face, hitting a quarterback in the head. Anytime you touch a quarterback's head, you're supposed to get a penalty. And I see them barely ever calling that, So that was ridiculous. It never should have been called. That's a hometown hero call there.
Monster win for the Nuggets. You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Nuggets snap their 4-game losing streak at home. They rack up another win. They rack up another Western Conference win. They rack up another win versus a team over 500. And they improved to 19-6 now. They've won 5 in a row. They are 7-3 in their last 10. And they are 14-5 in the brutal Western Conference. Ryan Blackburn, what was your big takeaway from the Nuggets win over the Rockets?
Hey, they won a home game. Look at them. Look at the Nuggets just bringing it all together. Winning one for the Gipper at home is really nice to see. No, I think this was first and foremost an incredible game. And I know Rockets fans are fuming. Rockets fans are not happy about all of the calls that apparently went against them and apparently went for the Nuggets. This such biased refereeing crew that I thought was bad both ways. This was not a biased thing in the slightest. But I do think that there was a sequence, Matt, at the end of the fourth quarter where Jokic goes at Şengün, hits him with a big boy and one. Şengün comes down immediately, hits him back with a Sombor shuffle. It was awesome. That was a great play. And then immediately back down, Jokic tries to run something for the team, realizes, okay, nothing's coming from it, just pops for 3, just puts a 3 right in the eye of the Rockets defense. And then it starts a spring of threes both ways, where Reed Shepherd hits a 3, Spencer Jones hits a 3. Shout out Spencer Jones. What a huge game. Kevin Durant comes down and hits a 3. This was a truly awesome game played by two teams that were clearly rested, that were clearly up for the challenge, that wanted and knew how big this game was and really lived up to that moment and brought it in very high level basketball. And the Nuggets coming out on top in a game like that, even when things didn't always go their way, was a really, really big deal.
Didn't always go their way. They're down 2 starters. They lose Peyton Watson in this game. They miss clutch free throws at the end of the game.
And not one, but 2 starters, 2 centers got fouled out.
Jokic fouls out.
Oh
Jonas has already fouled out. They have to put Spencer Jones in. By the way, I will talk about this tomorrow on Locked On NBA. Terrible coaching by Ime Udoka. Terrible coaching. How you have all this, Şengün catches that ball with 4 seconds left. He has time to do something. They have no center. Yeah. What are you doing?
Well, they were down 3. So obviously they needed a 3. And once you catch at that point, you got to do something. But clearly Denver did a great job of sniffing that out and protecting the ball from getting to Kevin Durant. That was clearly the way that they were trying to go, and the Nuggets sniffed that out. They did a great job defensively on that. They had a lot of great defensive moments in this game. I was frightened of the fact that Denver can't foul up 3 in that situation because sure, you take a foul. Usually if you make a free throw, you're down, the other team is down 2. They have to miss intentionally. Okay. Well, you don't have Jokic, you don't have Valanciunas, and they've got Steven Adams and Clint Capella on the other side. Holy cow. How in the world are you going to box out an offensive player in that case? That would have been an automatic tip in, and I think as long as the Rockets missed correctly on rebound.
Well, as long as they pulled off maybe the hardest thing to do in all of basketball, then yes,
I want to give them credit for being, if they would have been able to do that. So I was like, no, do not foul up 3. Do not foul. Let it play out, contest as best as you can, try to deny Kevin Durant. And they did a great job of that. There was so many great moments in this game, so many great heroes in this game for Denver. Should we talk about the fact that Tim Hardaway Jr. fell down on a away from play foul?
Yeah, so I'll just address this. I think genuinely, the Nuggets got a terrible whistle tonight. And Rockets fans can be pissed.
I have a well-established history of making Nuggets fans mad with how often I don't back up their claims that they get a terrible whistle. Jokic never gets any calls. I'm like, well, he actually is like one of the best free throw guys in the league. No, he never gets any calls. So like, I'm verified here. I have credibility on the subject. You got a great whistle tonight, Rockets fans, right up until that call. That fourth quarter was a disaster. It was a disaster zone. That crew was in over its head. I've been really frustrated with the officiating this season. It's been like, it's never good. You're never like, it's been a really good officiating season. Nobody ever says that. No one ever, and I understand it's a hard job. But like, I have high standard. Like, Zach Zarb was actually a really good crew chief. And really horrible tonight the whole way through. And there was so much nonsense that was going. Like, Şengün was getting like touch calls and like everything. Like, Şengün was grifted, and he only wound up with 6 free throws. I get it. I understand the numbers. On the play where Tim Hardaway Jr. files down that allows him to tie the game before Joker takes a 3, which I did not love that out of bounds call, which I can't really criticize because I found out tonight they're literally the best sidelines out of bound teams in the league. Found out tonight, and I was like, maybe I should give them a little bit of credit. But on the play, to me, this is what it looked like. It looks like Tim starts to trip on his own. And as he's falling, a man makes contact with his shin on the back of Tim, which means that Tim can't recover and get up. And this is important. No one is denying that Tim was falling. No one is denying that. But if you impede the ability for the player to get up and make the catch, it's a foul. Now, I will be consistent here. I don't think they should call it. And the reason I don't think they should call it is the same reason I said they shouldn't have called the foul on Russell Westbrook last year in the Wolves game. It's why I don't think they should have called the foul on the Nuggets on the Jeremy Grant play. Don't decide games based off fouls. Don't do that. Fair. Unless they spear them through a table, do not do it. It has got to be an ECW event for me to really think that this is actually, it should be called in those kind of situations. So I do not agree with that call being made. But if you're a Rockets fan, I'm sorry. You cannot watch that fourth quarter and be like, we got screwed. No, sir. There was a bunch of nonsense. That crew is out of control on both sides of the floor.
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
And it's time now for Nebraska to move on from Dylan Raiola.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast.
Nebraska football goes right back to the top of the board here because the starting quarterback for the last 2 seasons has he has announced his intention to enter the transfer portal, or at least he's told some people his intention to enter the transfer portal.
Or his agents have told some people of his intention to enter the transfer portal next month. This is how it happens. Today, Monday was a big day for portal entries in the QB carousel. It started to really hum. You saw DJ Lagway, the former, still current, but the Florida quarterback in Dylan's class, heading to the portal. Maybe Florida and Nebraska could just switch. They could swap. You saw probably not. I did hear part of your radio show on Monday talking about how DJ Lagway loves to throw interceptions. So yeah, it's not what Nebraska wants. Brendan Sorsby, how about that? He's in the transfer portal. The Cincinnati quarterback who could not beat Nebraska back in August, but had a great year. He's had a great career. I'm amazed that he has eligibility left, but he does. He's in the portal. We already knew about Sam Levitt, the former Michigan State and Arizona State quarterback. Aiden Childs, the former Michigan State quarterback, he's in the portal. So this is the stuff we have to talk about now for the next month.
Yeah, and the portal's not even open yet. And I'm glad that, we start there from a timing perspective, because just from, reading the writing on the wall and the tea leaves and whatever over the last couple of weeks, I do feel like that is a factor. The fact that the quarterback carousel started to turn today. As we've talked about on this show, and we talked about it last week, and shouldn't be a surprise to anybody because it happened last offseason. And Dylan Raiola was in his camp or getting feelers all across the country. What's the situation look like? What's the money look like? And a variety of different things. And you don't really know until, the teams don't really know who they're going to go after until they see, who they can or who makes themselves sort of available. So the first people who get in on that train are going to have an opportunity. And that's what Dylan has been doing and his camp has been doing for the last couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden, when the names start going in today, or I guess intending to go in today, then it becomes real. And then the spots start getting gobbled up really, really quickly. So I don't think that's a coincidence that once one kind of opened up today, the floodgates open for the quarterback carousel.
Yes, we are taping this on Monday. You're probably listening on Tuesday, but that's fine. That's fine. We needed to get this. We needed to get this out. Kind of an emergency evening podcast, so it'll be out early for everybody on Tuesday. If you're listening, perhaps you know that. Somebody else who went in the portal on Monday of local interest, Oklahoma State quarterback Zane Flores intends to enter the portal. This is news. He threw for 1,454 yards and 3 touchdowns for the one-win Cowboys of the Big 12. It was not a solid season for Oklahoma State, and Flores was sent to the bench at least once. They were just all over the map, and I think it's somewhat difficult to hold against a quarterback in that system all of the chaos or how the stats may look when there was all that chaos. Mike Gundy, of course, was fired mid-season, so we'll talk later in the show about what the path is that Nebraska should take with its quarterback position, because I think it's evident, it's very clear that the Huskers will look in the portal for a quarterback for certain. Already that was going to happen since Nebraska did not sign a QB in the early signing period. But I look at Flores at this point as a quarterback who's looking for a step down in size type of school, probably a G5 or even an FCS school with the way things went in his 3 seasons at Oklahoma State. But he is a Gretna kid. He does have the exposure to Matt Rule, who tried to get him as a part of his first recruiting class at Nebraska. And just maybe he's somebody you could look at to come in and be a competitor. Not, I'm going to walk in and be the starter, but
yeah,
we'll get back to that when we talk about what Nebraska's path is for the quarterback position. But let's just start with this on Dylan. Was it worth it? Did Nebraska get what it was looking for? How much of what it was looking for did Nebraska get from the 2 years with Dylan Raiola, the former 5-star out of Beaufort, Georgia?
Yeah, this is not a black and white thing, because there's a lot on both sides of that. But I suppose if I'm to take all the pros and cons and all of what's been the last 2 years, it would add up to no for me. The juice was not worth the squeeze, in my opinion. I think what happened after Matt Rule's first year here. Well, I mean, keep in mind that they were about to be locked in with Kyle McCord, who had been the starter at Ohio State the year before that. And when he was on his visit to Nebraska, Dylan Raiola committed to Nebraska. And that happened, everything changed. And then when that happens, you get a 5-star player, 5-star quarterback, 5-star at that position with his personality and with his connections around the country. It becomes the timeline accelerates rapidly, right? And it becomes a little bit more about like, all right, what do we do to keep him here? What do we do to make him happy? How do we put people around him? What do we do to make him successful? All in the hopes that he stays. And maybe you lose sight of the bigger picture of the original plan of when Matt Rule got here, 12 months prior to that, ever so slightly. Now they did get, I think he was an attraction as it pertains to Nebraska getting players in the portal, but the offense was never really able to get off the ground in 2 years. And that's what 2 different offensive coordinators, So there's a lot to it. But my blunt answer is no, it was not.
I would agree with you that this is in the gray area. He was the face of the program at Nebraska for 2 seasons. I think he raised the profile for Matt Rule's program. He was an important piece for Nebraska to get over some of the first hurdles that Rule had to clear. Getting to a bowl game was essential last year in season number 2, and without Dylan Raiola, I don't know that happens. If Nebraska signs the class that it had on December 10th in 2023 and then goes through the 2024 season without Dylan, I don't know that Nebraska's playing in the Pinstripe Bowl, and I think that needed to happen. It started now a run of getting back to the postseason. I realize this is another 7-win season. It's not what people wanted to see, but Raiola was injured on November 1st, going for the Nebraska's 7th win when it had just 2 losses, and I think he probably would have got it on that day if not for the broken leg. So there's going to be some revisionist history and a lot of talk, and I'm probably partaking in this in what I wrote on The Athletic that showed up on Monday afternoon about how he took Nebraska as far as he could, and that Nebraska took Dylan about as far as Nebraska was going to take Dylan, and it was best for both parties, considering that, to have a clean break right here, and it will be a fresh start for both. But that is said in the context of also understanding that he filled an important role in Matt Rule's attempt to build this thing.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's definitely a lot to it. I think now would be a good time for a little bit of, retrospective on what Nebraska did and how they approached it. And, we talked about this with the defensive coordinator and all the different hirings and firings over the last couple of years. A lot of times what you do when a guy leaves is you try to replace him with the opposite. You try to replace him with a variety of different things, whether it be personality traits, characteristics, and then even play style. And I think Nebraska will probably look for, the signs are pointing on offense to something a little bit more dynamic, something a little bit more sleek and fast with some tempo and a quarterback that could really provide a spark. Maybe TJ Lateef is that guy. Maybe a guy with more experience out of the transfer portal who's started at a different Power 5 school or something like that could provide that as well. But yeah, I'm not so sure that Nebraska did all it could for Dylan, putting him in the best spot. And I'm not so sure that, because of that, Dylan wasn't able to reach his potential here. Obviously, I mean, there's more in the tank for Dylan. And so that's, like you wrote, Mitch, I mean, that's pretty much the reason why he's not going to be here anymore.
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
Florida Gators quarterback DJ Lagway is entering the transfer portal.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators.
Florida Gators starting quarterback DJ Lagway has announced that he's going to enter the transfer portal. It's an interesting situation, right? I think that for a lot of people, let's circle back for a second. This is something that in October, I think was the first time I said it, was that, might be best for DJ to enter the portal. Just not, like I said, I think he's fixable. I'm not sure he's fixable here, right? And again, that's kind of just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, right? You got DJ Lagway gone after a awful season. we'll see what can happen, right? He's still, and because I'm not doing the whole like, oh, he's gone, we're going to change everything that we've said before. He's still an incredibly physically talented quarterback when he's healthy. He just hasn't been healthy to this point. And we don't know what he's going to be when he is healthy. Like we know he's physically talented, but a lot of what went wrong for him and for Florida was mental, I guess we can say. And so he announced he entered the transfer portal. Let me pull up the exact post that we have there, which again, I think a lot of people were quite surprised by it. I think there are a lot of people in Gainesville that are surprised by it as well. But the exact quote from DJ Lagway, if it wants to load, that would be really cool. The exact quote from DJ Lagway is the typical entering the transfer portal, hope for the best, wish for the best, all that fun stuff that you're going to get there. It's Dear Gator family. First and foremost, I want to thank God for every blessing he has placed over my life. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to have been part of such an incredible program here at the University of Florida. To my family, your unwavering support means the world to me. I would not be the man or the athlete I am today without your love, guidance, and sacrifice. To my friends and teammates, thank you for the brotherhood, the memories, and the bonds that we've built over these past 2 years. I will carry those moments with me for a lifetime. To my coaches, the athletic training staff, and every member of the University of Florida community, thank you for pouring into me, believing in me, and showing me nothing but love and support throughout my time in Gainesville. After much prayer, reflection, and thoughtful consideration, I have decided to enter the transfer portal. With gratitude, DJ Lagway. That's his quote to leave, or that was his message to leave. And again, like, I wish the best for him, right? I think it was October was the first time where I said, you know what, maybe DJ Lagway leaving would benefit him or be the best scenario for him. For everybody talking about, oh, is he gonna like is there a chance he comes back? I don't think so. I think if you're a QB1 and you announce your intention to enter the transfer portal, you're entering the transfer portal, right? And people talking about, money this, money that. I don't know. You can ask people, like I see the question, what about his contract? Does he give back money? Does he owe us money? Does he have a buyout? I don't know. I don't know the inner workings of just about any player's contract. And frankly, I don't care about the inner workings of their contract. I'm not pocket watching these kids. But DJ Lagway is going to go. And that is what it is. Frankly, if he was going to go at all, this is probably the best time to do it, right? When you've got a new coaching staff coming in, a new offensive coordinator coming in. It's a fresh start for everybody. That's why in October we said that. Like, I wish the absolute best for him. I wish him luck. If I had to guess, I would imagine he winds up somewhere in the state of Texas or at USC with Lincoln Riley. I know that there's people making jokes about him going to James Madison and following Billy Napier. That would be the funniest possible outcome. Just want to throw that out there. That would be a hysterical outcome if he went, nah, I'm gonna stick with Billy. But I don't think that's the case, right? I think that he's gonna go to either Baylor, Texas A&M, something like that. And the Texas A&M one's always been interesting because, yeah, they have Marcel Reed there, but wouldn't that be the perfect situation for DJ to go get done with whatever procedure he needs to get? Like the shoulder is something that, looked better toward the end of the year, but we were always told that that shoulder was going to be something that he needs surgery on eventually, right? If you're ever going to get it, go get it now, go red shirt and call it a day, right? Look, we spoke about it, was it last week? With Florida and the transfer portal and saying, hey, you know what? Florida should go get a quarterback, whether that's for competition or for depth. Go get a quarterback in the portal. There's guys out there, right? I don't know who they would want. I don't know. Because that's also the new thing is now when you talk about who Florida might pursue in the transfer portal like quarterback, now you're going to be talking about, well, how does it mesh with the offensive system that Buster Faulkner truly wants to run? Because he's going to be able to go get any quarterback he wants, right? Like not as in any quarterback is going to come to Florida, but like he's going to go and be able to pursue any quarterback he wants. With a lot of quarterbacks, it probably was the case of, well, you know, I'm not going to go to a place where DJ Lagway's at, where there's like an established starter. Now there's not. Go pursue anybody you want. Okay, Drop Music just said, get Bear Bachmeier. I will crash out. You want to see me crash out? Go get Bear Bachmeier. Watch me crash out. Again, I don't think the Buster Faulkner wants to stick with the quarterback run heavy offense the way that he's had at Georgia Tech. I think that he did that because he had Haynes King at quarterback, and that was the best way you were going to win football games, with Haynes King at quarterback. I don't think it's what he wants to do. He received 10% of the NIL from Florida. What a waste comment from Larry, and that I've seen before, and I know where it came from. I will just say that the person that put that out there has been wrong time and time and time again. I'm not going to put stock into something like that. I see a lot of people mentioning Darian Mensah from Duke. And of course, there's the whole, he played a year for John Summerall over at Tulane. But I don't know about that one. Like, Duke paid him, right? Duke paid him. He won the ACC. We know what the ACC is, but he won the ACC. Darian Mensah this year, 3,626 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 picks. Pretty good. Hi, Brandon. Shout out. What's up, David? I'll shout you out. Trinidad Chambliss, you are a Florida Gator. Look, there's a lot of options where Florida can go here. And again, like now you can do whatever you want. Did anyone watch the Momagers podcast with DJ Lagway's mom? I did not. Didn't do it. What's up, T? But yeah, I think looking at, Florida now, it's an interesting spot that the whole program's in because of this, right? I saw someone mention Marcus Stokes, which I don't think happens. Marcus Stokes is, of course, the quarterback commit that then ended up going to West Florida after getting his scholarship pulled after a video of him saying a certain thing came out. Why is everyone big on Aaron Philo? Did he play at all? So people are very high on Aaron Philo, the Georgia Tech backup quarterback, partially because watch the offense when he comes in, he lights it up. But I mean, he's a young guy that, again, played well in limited reps over the past 2 years. He has a combined, again, 57.8 completion percentage, which as a freshman was 51.4%. This year was 75%. He's got 938 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. And yeah, I mean, I think that when you're talking about bringing in a guy like Aaron Philo, you're like, all right, well, he's a young quarterback that is familiar with the Buster Faulkner offense. But I think that just revisits the conversation of what is a Buster Faulkner offense? That's got to be the question, right?
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
The Chiefs have lost Patrick Mahomes, but they got to work their worst-case scenario to keep moving forward today.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
It is an ACL tear for Patrick Mahomes. We don't know several things, and that includes if there's any collateral damage to any of the other ligament structures or a meniscus, 2 very common things that if you look through and you check out that piece on NFL 33, it lists out like the commonality of having additional injuries is very, very, very common for most quarterbacks that go down with this. So that does affect the prognosis, and we'll have to get to that. The other thing we don't know is exactly where it is or what the grade is. And he is going, Andy Reid announced today on Monday in his presser that Patrick is going for a second opinion just to verify. I believe he's going down in Dallas, and I guess that'll determine where it is done. But it is as significant as worst case scenario as we could have thought.
And you know who else is going to have an opinion on this? Guaranteed.
Everyone.
Well, yeah. I was thinking Bobby Stroop.
Well, yeah.
Not that he's going to affect whether or not Mahomes gets surgery or not, but it's definitely going to affect when he returns and how he returns, and when he returns. And you talk about how this injury is going to affect Kansas City. I mean, you laid it out in your article. Prognosis is probably questionable whether or not he can even be healthy enough to play in 2026. There's questions there. We will see. And the other part of the reality with him is not only can he be healthy enough, it's also a question of, generally speaking, what we've seen from people that tear the ACLs is they may come back the same year or the next year, but they still don't look what they look like before. So it could be really 2027 before he really starts looking like maybe himself. So something to watch there. But we talked about this before the show, and I will say this. I will never count out Patrick Mahomes when it comes to injuries and toughness and getting things done and getting ready and trying to figure things out. He played, and I know it's a completely different deal, but he played through a high ankle sprain that he had no business playing through. So he's able to do some different things. And I trust that Bobby's going to get him ready, although I'm sure he's going to have a lot of people in his ear about different things, and we'll see how that goes. But the bigger question when it comes to Mahomes isn't just, is he going to be available? It's, what are they going to do with his salary cap number? And I know we're talking what's his future. I'm not saying they're going to cut him. I want to be clear on that. That's not at all what I'm saying. But he does have a salary cap number of $80 million, almost $80 million in 2026. And especially if he's in a situation where he thinks he's going to have to miss the entire season or at least a large portion of the season, you have to wonder, does that play into how he is looking at 2026 from a contract perspective? Because this was the first year, or one of the first years, that you would expect that this deal was going to get redone. And now there is some injury stuff going into it. And you have a lot of other players that you're going to have to figure out and talk about. There's some easy moves, but Mahomes by himself can free up enough space to get them under the salary cap. And right now they're $42 million over the salary cap. But there's so many things to ask and see how it turns out.
Yeah, and we're going to have to do a whole show after the season on just his impact on the salary cap. Okay, 2. Fair enough. But I will tell you this. I've said it for several years now. Honestly, since he signed that contract, the 2026 was the year to blow it up and start over. And I don't know the clause. We haven't seen the contract. I don't know if it's structured in a way that they can just rip it up. If they were smart, and I'm guessing they were, there is a way for them to mutually agree to just disintegrate that contract and start over. I'm guessing that's in the cards. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's an option.
I don't think it's an option because they've rolled so much money forward from previous years that I don't think you can rip it up and redo a new deal. I do think you can say, okay, well, we're restructuring this and we'll free up $40 million this year, and maybe we can free up some other stuff, going forward. But the problem is, like, even if you look at his numbers for 2026, like I said, restructuring him frees up like $40 million. I was just looking at this before we hopped on here. They can convert $54.5 million of his compensation to a signing bonus in March, freeing up $43.5 to the salary cap. That gets them under by itself. So you have to think that they're probably going to do that, especially considering the fact that he may not play. But then how do you adjust it going forward for 27, 28, and 29 and all the other years? Like, there's lots of different questions that you have to talk about. Again, the bigger question right now and the thing that we probably should focus on, at least for the next couple of minutes, is what does this mean for his prognosis for playing in the future? Like, I'm not worried that he can come back and play, but at this point, is it going to be in 2026? Is it going to be in 2027? And the other thing I have to say is, how crazy is it that it was the same year, and I think it's the same knee, that Tom Brady did, same year in his career, same knee.
It is. Same year in the dynasty.
In the same results for the team. And the fact that they both have 3 Super Bowls when it happened, just the similarities are crazy.
There's no getting away from the GOAT comparison. There just isn't. And thank you for not blaming me for what happened, because I mentioned the similarity between these two franchises and these two quarterbacks a couple weeks ago. But I want to be very clear, and please go read that piece. It's half unlocked. You can join up for a low. There's a great discount going on right now at NFL33.com. You can get to see the whole thing. But the basis is this. They almost always come back. It has to be really severe and have nerve damage involved to be really something that a quarterback can't come back from. So Patrick Mahomes will return. He will have a second era of his career. The question is when. And this late in the year, a lot of guys, I think it was Murray didn't come back until the following November. If that's the case, then you're right. We're looking at 27 before he's in.
And here's my other thing. And I know we need to go to break, and we need to talk about playing for the future or today in just a second. But I also wonder if the fact that Kansas City is going to be looking at this from the perspective of Mahomes could be out all of 2026. If they play it from the worst case scenario, he could be out all of 2026. I'm not saying you punt on 2026, but does that make you make some different moves on your offense and your defense and trying to figure out and get ready for a real run in 2027 when he returns? I think that if they think he's going to be out, we could see a huge clearing because they want to be ready to compete and do whatever they can in 2027 to load up in 2027.
That's true. And they're not structurally ready for that as they exist today.
Correct.